Hello everybody, John Coffee here to do a review. Another spaghetti western review because I'm on a huge spaghetti western kick right now. I mean, I am just anything and everything I can get my hands on spaghetti western I want to watch right now. And today I'm finishing up this double pack here. I get a text message. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, today I'm finishing up reviewing this 2-pack I just picked up that you can get at Walmart for $5. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in spaghetti westerns at all, to check this pack out because it's well worth it. Today I am reviewing Keoma, starred Franco Nero, and directed by the highly underrated Enzo Castellari, who is one of the best Italian directors. I mean, to be fair, he's done some crap, like The Last Shark, but he's also done Inglourious Bastards, The Big Racket, which is one of the best Italian action films ever, Heroin Busters, Street Law, Keoma, and there's another big one. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, Enzo Castellari is a pretty underrated Italian director. Yeah. Keoma stars Franco Nero as a half Indian, half white man who comes home from the Civil War to find that his town is overrun with this plague. And even worse so, his town is also overran by a ex-Confederate soldier named Caldwell, who will not help these people at all. He basically drives them out of town and puts them in what is essentially a concentration camp. And he basically rules his town with his iron fist, and it's just an overall evil man. Like, he won't let nobody leave, he won't let nobody get any medicines in. He basically has this town locked down, and he isn't going to help anybody at all. But if anybody tries to do anything, he kills them. To make matters worse, Keoma's 3 half-brothers, who have never liked Keoma because he's half Indian, and they consider him inferior, has also joined up with Caldwell. So now it's up to Keoma, his father, and his ex-slave, basically, what he is. They say ranch hand, but, let's be honest, he's a slave, ex-slave, join forces to stop Caldwell and get these people help. And, I have to say, this is a really, really, really strong spaghetti western. I've never seen this movie. I've never seen either of the movies up to this bought this pack, but I had never seen Keoma. Never really even heard of it. But it's really good. Like, to start off, Franco Nero as Keoma. Franco Nero is one of the best. When I think spaghetti westerns, I think Clint Eastwood, Lee Von Cleef, and Franco Nero. Those 3 guys did the best and the most of all the spaghetti westerns, and he does a phenomenal job in this movie with some very powerful scenes. Like, that's one of the first things you'll notice that it's different about Keoma than most spaghetti westerns. Is this has a very dark, down feel to it. It's not, not saying like westerns are like, but more so than even some of the darker spaghetti westerns. This one has just this almost post-apocalyptic feel about it, and it's also one of the later spaghetti westerns. This came out in 1976, I believe. What problem will say on here? Oh, it does, 1976. Which, by this time, spaghetti western as a genre was really starting to just. And for Enzo Castellari to come out and make this good of a spaghetti western at the end of this genre, at the very end of it, because there was no spaghetti westerns after, in the 80s. They moved on to different genres. In the 80s, Italians, as we know, became more about splatter filmmaking. And yeah, Franco Nero, he does an amazing job in this film. Also, George, who is the ex-slave of the family, is played by Woody Strode, which I could sit here and ramble on things that guy's done all day, and you probably wouldn't recognize, or you probably recognize him, but you probably wouldn't remember who he is. But as soon as you see him, you know him, and he does a phenomenal job in this movie as well. And one of the big themes of this movie is actually racism. Like, Keoma talks about how much he looked up to George because he was half Indian, and everybody treated him different as well as they did George. And he looked up to George for being such a strong man and being able to deal with it and being afraid of nobody, And there's all kinds of little subtleties about racism in this movie. Like, there's a great scene between Franco Nero and I can't remember the guy who plays his father, but Franco Nero, Keoma, fought for the Union in the Civil War, and he's sitting there and goes, "I never understood what it was all about." And his dad's like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "The war. I don't know. I can't understand what it's all about." And his dad's like, "Well, we took a break from killing the Indians to free the black people, so we would feel good about ourselves, so we could go back and kill the Indians." Which I felt was such a great scene, you know. And you know, I'm not gonna get into you know, the merits of the Civil War or anything like that, but I thought that was a really good scene and very powerful, and let you know, like, this movie's like, yeah, you know, racism is wrong. Well, let's say about Keoma. That's good. I want to get to all the good stuff first. Like this right here says, saturated in a doomed and gloomy psychedelic atmosphere, which is absolutely the best way to describe this film. Like, sometimes very surrealistic. Like, there's this old lady that he finds at the very beginning of this this movie, who kind of follows him wherever he goes, and she's not really like, she's hard to describe. She's not necessarily a character. She never really interacts with anybody in the film other than Keoma, but she's constantly there, almost like a watcher, watching over Keoma, and there's really good flashback scenes. Like, there's scenes in it where Keoma goes back to his hometown, his home ranch, and he's looking around and seeing memories, and he's standing there watching these memories, and the kids do a pretty good job of, you know, playing off that, oh, don't look at him, he's not there, you know. They do a pretty good job of that, and I thought it was very well handled, and the direction of this film and the cinematography are beautiful. It looks great. Keoma's hair, a little over the top, Franco Nero with a rockin' mullet, but he works, and he's such a good actor. I mean, he's a man who doesn't even need to speak to drive a performance. You just look at him, he has these piercing eyes, you know, he can really, like, emote, and without ever saying a word, just using his facial expressions. He's a very good actor. I mean, most people would know him from Django, but if you don't know Django, he was also in Street Law, which is an Enzo Castellari film, and he's also in Hitchhike, which stars David Hess, that Blue Underground put out. And if you haven't seen Hitchhike, that's also a fantastic film that you need to check out. What else good things about this movie can I say? It's just a very strong spaghetti western that I felt had everything going for it, except for one major thing. And I guess I've praised the movie for 8 minutes, and now I will not snit on it, but I'm definitely about to deliver some not so good news. Okay, the biggest problem with Keoma, the number one problem, is the soundtrack. And that's unfortunate, because 90% of the time, the best thing about spaghetti westerns are their soundtracks. I'm not sure what Enzo Castellari was thinking when he approved this soundtrack. Basically, the music's fine, but there's this woman and man who sing over every piece of music in the film, and basically what they're doing is narrating the story, and it is awful. It is beyond bad. Like, it is almost unbearable to listen to. Once you're the ding, 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 ding of the guitar, you're like, oh god, no, not again. Ooh, Keoma. That's honestly, like, that is not an exaggeration. That is what it sounds like. It is awful. I was like, why did they do this? Because it takes what would have been, you know, even though it was the last, you know, one of the last of the spaghetti western genre, one of the strongest in my opinion. Like, I felt this could easily hang in there with the likes of Once Upon a Time in the West, and for a few dollars more. It was such a strong, powerful film that is knocked down, you know, a half a point or more because of the soundtrack, because it's almost unwatchable because of the soundtrack, which is so unfortunate. Like, it's a little harsh to say that, because, like, I think if you just kind of tune out the soundtrack, you know, you're still going to get miles of enjoyment out of this film, because it is such a good spaghetti western, but the soundtrack is just unbelievably bad. I was like, why did they do this? Oh, I was so frustrated listening to this. when that song, when the first one came on, I was like, oh, that's bad. You know, hope they don't do that again. And they did it the whole movie. And the guy is maybe even worse. Like, yeah, Keoma, you got away your heart. It is almost like really bad opera music. I don't know. Like, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, why did they do that? I read a review for this movie after I watched it where the person said this could have been one of the greatest spaghetti westerns of all time had it had the Ennio Morricone touch, and that is the God's honest truth, man. It hangs up there with some of the best spaghetti westerns of all time, Bianco, you know. But that soundtrack, if only someone like Ennio Morricone, or maybe even like Joplin, or, you know, Fabio Frizzi, or anybody had got their hands on it other than who did this soundtrack, which I didn't even look it up because like they're so bad I don't even want to know. But still, a highly enjoyable film. Just tune out that wretched soundtrack and just enjoy the spaghetti western goodness. So yeah, now to the transfer. This is probably the weaker of the two on this set. The transfer isn't awful, but it's also not wonderful. Like, when it first came on, I was like, it's not bad. But it seems like the longer the film went on, the worse the transfer got. Like, by the end of the last shot of the film is beyond grainy. Like, it's just super grainy, and not, you know, it's definitely the weaker of the two when it comes to transfers. But again, $5. You're not really buying this Blu-ray for the transfer. You're buying it for the films, you know. So yeah, Keoma, awesome film. Out of 5, I would definitely, like, I was going to give this movie, I would give this movie a 4.5 without the awful soundtrack, but I'll knock it down to a 4. I think it's the better of the two, even though the Grand Duel was very fun and very enjoyable. The transfer, like, I think I gave Grand Duel a 3 or 3.5. I can't be as generous to Keoma. I've got to be honest and say a 2 probably. But a 2 for a Blu-ray. I mean, it's not like, good God, this looks bad. It's like, this just doesn't look like a good Blu-ray, you know. On a DVD, it looks like a DVD, you know. Maybe even on DVD, someone will be like, oh, the transfer's a little off. But nothing that's going to be like, oh my God, I'm just so offended. But it'd be nice to see both these movies actually get a really good release, because I bet they both look really good. Done right. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's Keoma. That's the Spaghetti Western 2-pack that you can pick up at Walmart right now. If you see this, grab this. There's also one set that has When a Stranger Calls and Happy Birthday to Me on it, which would be the only other one I'd pick up. But I don't like When a Stranger Calls that much, and Happy Birthday to Me. You know, I like that movie, but you know, I know the transfer isn't gonna be much better in my DVD, so I'm not worried about it. I'm going to have some more spaghetti western stuff coming soon. I'm on a big spaghetti western kick right now. I just ordered a handful of spaghetti westerns, including an awesome 3-pack, which heads up to all my friends on here. Blue Underground has started putting out something called the Midnight Movie Collections. I don't know how many volumes are out now, but there's going to be, by next month, 13. And it's all stuff they've already released, so I'm sure, you know, you all probably have, like I do, a lot of these movies. But there's some 3-packs that are very good that, you know, maybe people have overlooked. Like, there's one that's got, they call it the Crime 3-pack, but it's actually the Enzo Castellari 3-pack that has Street Law, Big Racket, and Heroin Busters. And then there's, like, Blade in the Dark, Macabre, and Manhattan Baby, I think, or it could be Shock, I'm not sure. And then there's, like, the 4-pack I got, which is Comparianos, For the Apocalypse, and Run Man Run, Contagion. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good 3-packs of this. So, if you're looking to complete out some of your Blue Underground stuff, it might not be a bad idea like I did to go on there. And I actually got a bunch of them on my wish list. As soon as I start getting some cash in, I'm going to pick a bunch of these up because they're really cool. I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting my 3-pack in. So, yep, that's it, guys. Keoma, it's awesome. Grand Duel as well. More spaghetti goodness coming from the Hammer 56. I will see you all next time.